Hi and welcome to EGO podcast, EGO NetCast. I am Martin Lindeskog and today's date is February 7, 2012. Today I'm talking to Miranda Marquit. Hi Miranda.
Hi, how are you?
Are you doing good and yourself?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will read from your bio that you sent to me and also include attached to a photo that we'll include in the show notes. Miranda is a financial journalist and freelance writer. She writes for numerous publications and her work has appeared in the US News and World Report, All Business, Huffington Post, and Business Insider. Miranda also has an interest in science and has written for Discover magazine and the science website fees.org. She lives in Pennsylvania with her husband and son and enjoys reading, travel, and the outdoors. And I will continue with the short and sweet bio from the Twitter in 140 characters or less. Then it's saying the same thing, that you're a freelance journalist and the author of Confessions of a Professional Blogger. So during this interview and conversation and talk, we will hear about the confessions of a professional blogger.
Okay.
And also for listeners' information, you have around 10,000 followers at tweets, and you follow about the same, 9,200 something. So that's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
So, do you want to start out with the confessions of a professional blogger? What kind of book is that?
Yeah, so I got a lot of questions since I do this professionally, and I started in 2005. So this is actually my 10th year as a professional blogger. It's been kind of a fun year so far.
Congratulations. How
Thank
did you celebrate?
I don't know yet.
Yeah?
I'm kind of trying to figure out how I need to celebrate so that when I do hit my 10-year anniversary, I'm ready. But as I was saying, in my years doing this, I got a lot of questions, and a lot of the questions about how to be a professional blogger, how to make money as an online writer. A lot of people asked me questions about these things, and I thought, well, what if I, instead of having to answer everybody's questions when they ask me, what if I took the most common questions and answered them in a book? And so that's what this book is about. This book is about some of the things that I learned becoming a professional blogger. Some of the things that I talk about in the book include things like you don't have to actually write what you know about. Hard truths like if you want to make money as an online writer, sometimes you have to write crap that you're not interested in. So I kind of take a look at some of the realities of being an online writer and some of the realities of getting started. And the truth is almost anybody can do this and make a living, but it's not always as glamorous as people think. So it's a really practical, it's just a very practical guide to starting up as an online writer. And that's kind of what I wanted it to be. It's really short. It's only, I think, about 100 pages. So it's really short. It's really easy to read. And it's pretty much just meant to give you an inside look at what it takes to get started.
That's great. When did you publish it?
2013, October 2013.
Yeah. And you sold it through different channels like Amazon and so on? And
yeah, it's available on Amazon. It's available for Kindle or available in paperback.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. And what are you up to right now with the work, projects, hobbies, and so on? In your email signature, you say then you're co-author of Community 101, and then you have a couple of sites here, plantingmoneyseeds.com and Miranda Marquit.com. How do you pronounce your last name?
You've got it right.
Yeah?
It's just Marquit. Yep.
Marquit.
Just what it sounds like, Marquit. Yep. Yeah, so the Community 101 book I co-authored, years ago, I think 2010, with Robin Tippins, who has done community management stuff with like Yahoo and Current TV. And so we co-authored it a few years ago. And that was kind of a fun collaborative project. And I really enjoy working with other writers and other bloggers and others in the space. And what I'm really working on right now is I've got three things that I'm doing right now as kind of collaborations. They are the Plutus Awards, which take place at the Financial Bloggers Conference every year. And we present the Plutus Awards to personal finance bloggers. And I am very heavily involved in planning that. I'm part of the executive committee. And so that's a lot of fun. The conference isn't till September, but it's a lot of work, and we've actually started now. So I've been working on the Plutus Awards and working with getting that going, and that's been great. And then I'm involved with a live web show. It's called the Money Mastermind Show. And it's a panel style show where 5 of us get together, and we, me and 4 other bloggers, personal finance bloggers and experts, we get together and we have a guest on, we have a financial expert come on, and we talk about money. And it's a really fun format because it's live. It's a live hangout, and we do it on air every Wednesday, and it's really a lot of fun. And then the third collaboration I'm on it's called the Money Tree Investing Podcast. And that's another collaboration with other bloggers. And we get together and we interview an investing expert, and then we talk about what we've learned. And so it's been really fun to collaborate with other people and be involved. I think one of the great things about technology and being in the online space is that you can meet so many interesting people and work together to create new and interesting things.
Yeah, it's very interesting to hear, and we have to include that in the show notes so people could check out. Are these hangouts, are they open, or is it like a special invitation, or could you enjoy?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So they're open. We do it at 10 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday, and we have an event set up. It's a public event, and anybody can watch. And then there's a little question and answer app. And so sometimes people who are watching, they type in their questions and they appear, and we can answer them.
Okay. Is it any special hashtag or something like that you could follow along also?
Yeah, just hashtag Money Mastermind Show.
Okay, great. So how do you see that? Because I know a bit about backstory about the Google Hangouts. It was an invention, I think, here from Sweden, and they did this net meeting similar to Microsoft's and so on. And then they got bought by Google, but have incorporated it, the technology.
Oh, that's way cool. I didn't know that.
What I am amazed is that they haven't promoted or marketed this kind of service more, because as we are knowing now, we are doing it via Skype and record the conversation. But the Hangout now, if I understand it right, you could also save it and archive it, and you could watch it later on.
Yes, we do. It actually automatically saves to YouTube. And so we take the show after it's done, we download it, we pretty it up a little bit, and then we re-release it on YouTube, and then we rip the audio and turn it into a podcast on iTunes. But yeah, it's really nice because it automatically sends it to YouTube so that you can get a copy of it and share it after the fact.
Sounds like a very neat thing. And also, going back to your bio here, you have written for lots of publications, and that you well-known names like US News and World Report, and also, of course, Huffington Post, online magazine, and the Business Insider. So cover all kind of topics, or do you have any speciality?
Yeah, mostly I cover finance. Mostly I cover small business, entrepreneurship, personal finance, and investing. Yeah. Those are the subjects that I most often cover.
And I got an email recently here from Ivana Taylor from Small Business Trends, also about this Small Business Books Award, and I was one of the judges there last year, and in the economics category. And it was very fascinating to read good and interesting books on economy, and financial industry and so on. And
Yeah.
also, you had all kind of other different areas, social media, marketing, etc. So, and it will the applications for submitting books is on its way, and you could continue with that until I think I'll put that in show notes also, but I think it's in March somewhere, and then it's an award later on this year, and also in process to go through different books and voting for them and commenting and so on.
Oh, so, that's neat.
Yeah, so that's a great thing. And in the bio you also say because you say it's not so sometimes not so fancy and not so glamorous to write and to stumble over this how do you say, writing block and deadlines and so on. But do you have several, how to say, articles and posts and so on in the pipeline at the same time, or do you know from day to day or week to week or month to month what you have coming up?
Yeah, so I've built up my clientele to the point where I do have regular clients where I provide content to them on a monthly basis. So I usually have a general idea of who I'm going to be writing for each month, and I provide them regular content, which is a nice way to do this because it sets a baseline for you and it can really help you get a little bit of stability. And then on top of that, I have extra projects, projects that I don't really know about month to month or that are short term that I can work on. But building up a clientele, and that's one of the things I focus on in my book is, you build up this regular clientele so that you can have kind of a baseline. And so most of the time I do have an idea of who I'll be writing for and how many articles I'll need to do for them because I'm providing them with content. And then I have another layer where I'm doing extra articles, or I'm hired to do a one-off project, or I'm hired to ghostwrite a book or something. So I'm working on that as well. So yeah, I try and diversify a little bit so that my income is coming from different sources, so that if I do have a client that drops me, or if something happens, like 2 years ago, one of my biggest clients was acquired by somebody else, and they were acquired by a competitor who basically took them over to shut them down. And so then, then I was out of a regular, I'd been providing content to them for like 7 years, and all of a sudden they didn't exist anymore. Wow. So that was kind of a little bit of a setback, but because I had a diverse sources of income, I had other clients already in place that I was already working for, and so I could keep that up while I looked for a replacement client. So, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and what I liked when I read you have been very open in your blog posts about your process and ups and downs, and also the challenge how to set prices and so on. So do you have any blog series or any certain post that you want to point out, and you could send that to me later on in email, but any that comes to your mind now, if the listeners want to have a teaser and then go and buy the book, but start out with a special blog post about that?
Well, what I'm doing now, which might be kind of considered the same thing, is I just started recording little 2 or 3 minute videos called Online Freelance Writing Tidbits. You can find them on my YouTube channel and also on mirandamarquit.com. I just do a post, and I upload these, and I've only got 4 right now because I just barely started it, but they're just little tidbits that answer specific questions people have, and a lot of the questions people have are the same ones that are covered in the book. So that's kind of the resource that I'm looking at right now, is just this collection of little short 2 to 3 minute videos that answer questions about whether you should specialize in a subject or try and be utility, how much you should, do a social media promotion, and then I also did one about why I don't have a freelance rate card and how I set rates. So there are some different things in there that might be of interest.
Yeah, and it's interesting how then you have written blog post, and then now you're taking it and do video clips also.
Yes.
And then you could also take it as like a radio or podcast or audio content too. And of course ebooks and others. So that's how you could use the content over and again, and then sometimes with a twist or addition in some kind.
Yes, that's a good point. I really like all of the multimedia options we have now, that you can reach people in the media that's easiest for them.
Yeah. And as I said, I liked your style, that you have been open with your journey, how it is to be a freelancer. Because on one side, when you read and search, it sounds pretty glamorous and how to say, laid back life, and these freelance things drops into you. But when you have other things with huge competition and how to find the right one, because it's a relationship to build up with this freelance thing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's very amazing how we could now get content from wherever we want in the world, and then read things from other places, and it's a fascinating area. And I mean, you had this writing for Huffington Post. They have been very popular compared with regular mainstream newspapers and so on. But now lately I've heard rumors and news that they have got competition with sites like BuzzFeed and others, because people want to have snack size information, and you want this instant hit and so on. How do you feel that because some of your articles have been a bit longer, and you do it in different steps and so on, that people take it into account and chew it and think about it? Have you received any feedback and comment on that?
No, actually. It's interesting because, like you said, there's been kind of an interesting move toward, I guess they call it clickbait, right? Looking for these.
You said it, and I thought it.
Looking for these, bite-sized snack articles, like you were saying, and these sensational headlines, and it's been interesting to watch the changes over the last 10 years and the way things are going. But it seems to me that my audience that generally reads my writing, they like the longer pieces that are meatier and in depth because it has more information. Yeah. I think if you're looking for entertainment value, I am probably not your person. And I think a lot of the BuzzFeed stuff, it's really about like that entertainment and that quick hit and that quick, oh hey, this is fun to read type feeling. Yeah. Most of the people that read my stuff that I've talked to and visited with, a lot of the feedback I get is that they like it because most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, I try to be useful and provide content that actually applies to your life. And so I get a lot of people that are appreciative of that aspect of it and don't mind that it's longer because it gets more into the subject and teaches them something that they can then use.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. I personally could say and admit probably also that I'm more of a writing short things like a pundit. That's how I started in 2002. I wanted to ventilate and comment on news and things going around, philosophy and politics and other things like that. But then you could have longer articles also.
Oh yeah.
But what I see that you say these link baits, it's almost similar with coming around with tabloid things. Yes. The funny thing is that you have now bloggers that almost out compete, or how do you say, winning over with regular newspapers and especially more of a tabloid material, doing their own sort or thing or twist with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you do see that a lot. And it kind of reminds me of, the more things change, the more things stay the same.
Yeah.
That old saying, because back in the day, you had the muckrakers and you had the yellow journalism, and you had, there was just a lot of that kind of thing. And you've always had, like you were saying, the tabloids. It's just now they're online, and now you can get them online. And and anybody can start their own tabloid or start their own news site or be a pundit, like you said, which is cool. Sometimes I have a little blog that nobody reads that I sometimes do political ranting on.
Okay.
And it's just kind of, it's a release, like you said. And it is kind of a fun way to get out there and be able to engage more in the marketplace of ideas.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting to watch that kind of evolution. And when you say, well, traditional media is going by the wayside, and it kind of is, but it's also to a certain degree moving online. You can still find long form journalism in plenty of places online. And so you can still get the same stuff. It's just in a different format.
Yeah. And what I like is you can, with personal style, and you get a sense of the individual who's created it. And that's what I like with pieces that I've read by you, but it's very, you get to feel about it, and then you get to trust. You like the person and trust them, and see, I learned something from it, because that probably you will see also by, you could say, colleagues or competitors, but it's a big market, so it's no real competition in a way, but things that are more bland, so to speak, or almost like link baits and stuff, keyword stuffing and things like that. And that must be a pretty challenge to reach out and find your potential clients. Do you do other outreach programs and so on, and channels besides online? Do you do you go to a networking event, or is it any association for freelancers that you could join, or how does that work?
Yeah, so one of the things that I do is I do like to go to networking events. I just went to one, last week actually, yeah. I went to one at the end of January in New York that was being put on by a couple of financial services companies, and just meeting with bloggers and meeting with the people at Betterment and SoFi, and it was fun, and it's great to go and make those connections. But I also like to go to blogging conferences. I like to go to NMX. I'll be going to that in April, and then of course, what?
Yeah, I was talking with the guy that we did a podcast now together. That was my show, but he was a guest there. So that was fun, and we were talking about that I read about that was called, before it was called Blog World. What was it called? Now it was New Media Expo.
Yeah, it was Blog World.
Blog World, and I read an article and a blog post about the transition and the development, and it was pretty interesting how they said we are not a podcasting conference, we are not a blogging conference, we are not a social media conference or news, but we are all these. And how a long post back and forth, what they were standing for and what they wanted to develop also. So I got I said, this kind of event I want to go to and travel. For me, of course, it's long distance and others. And I think some of these conferences you could be online also and do. But to meet people in person, it would be great to do.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah. So you were saying there with New Media Expo, and then you were saying something about in April or some other event?
Oh, yeah. So NMX is in April, and then I always go to the Financial Blogger Conference, the FinCon Expo, and that's going to be in September. And I go there, and that's where I was talking about how I help with the Plutus Awards, which are presented at the conference. So yeah, it's great to go and meet people in person. And one of the great things about attending these conferences and meeting people in person is you kind of see them, you build that trust, and you can form relationships and partnerships. I have a business partner, Tom Drake, and he and I knew each other from online and around the interwebs, as they say.
Yeah.
And we'd we'd known each other from online, but then when we met each other at the first FinCon Expo, that's when we decided to become partners and partner on some websites and kind of go into business together, because we could see each other and we met each other and kind of hit it off a little bit as far as professional goals and expectations went. And so, now we run a couple of blogs together. So it's nice to be able to meet people in person. You can figure out these partnerships, you can have these networking opportunities, and just really connect. And usually, too, as a freelancer, these are valuable because I often come away with a few more clients who are interested in working with me. So it's nice. It's a good way to build up business, to find partners, to find new projects, and to collaborate.
That's great, and it's perfect here now around halftime, as we say. And recently it was halftime with the Super Bowl. Did you watch that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, did you rooted for the right team?
No. Well, no.
You're not a New England Patriots fan?
No, we're Giants fans here at our house. We like the New York Football Giants, and as such, the rule is to root against not the Patriots.
Yeah, so I've heard about that, and I will do some investigations about that, because I've heard, for example, a good friend Brent Leary. He said that every team against New England Patriots I root for. So I will have a talk with him about that. But it's funny. I'm not so much into sports, but I learned to appreciate American football when I was studying in Manchester, New Hampshire. And then, of course, the choice to pick New England Patriots was pretty easy.
Right.
And then they won around that time when I was studying. So that was, interesting. And when I moved to Ohio, but they talked about the Bucks and what they call Bengals and others.
Yes.
But it's pretty funny, because it's in a way a sport event. I try to explain it, because right now it's a melody festival or some musical festival here in Sweden, and then they have this Eurovision contest. But it's similar. In Europe you watch this musical thing, the final, and in America you watch this Super Bowl game, because it's so big. You could watch the ads and you could learn lots of things from that. You could see the financial things. You could see how they try to use new media in order to reach out. So I think that's a fascinating thing to see. And talking about that, we could have a segue about the trader principle that I often ask my guests. Have you any thoughts and ideas about how you exchange ideas and matters and services and products on a free market? And have you read anything by Miss Rand?
Yes, but I have a feeling we feel very differently about her. So
okay, but we could have a debate. We could have a talk. Yes, I am a fan of her works and have been for a long time. And it would be interesting for you that I was coming as a freelancer and in the financial industry, because many people who are not involved in financial market and so on don't really understand it. And it would be interesting to see what your take is on that, how you exchange, like for example stock exchange, but it could be other exchanges around the market.
Yeah, so I really, honestly, when I exchange my work for money, I base it on a lot of different factors. I take a look at who it is I'm working with, because I know that an independent blogger is not going to have the same resources that a corporation would have. Yep. And so I charge differently depending on whether my client is a corporation or an independent blogger. I'm willing to negotiate rates because to me, it's not just about money. To me, it's also about who I'm working with, whether I like you, whether I'm interested in the subject, whether I think you have a good mission, and that kind of thing. So if I really like you as a person, and if I really like what you're trying to accomplish in your mission, I don't mind charging you a little bit less. I'm willing to be flexible on that because I get I get adequate compensation in the form of feeling good about what I'm doing, being interested in what I'm doing, and liking what I am doing. And so I kind of make those trade-offs. And then, when I work with corporate clients, then obviously I charge more because one, they can afford it. So and that's the thing, is I don't think exchange should be a straight up set thing. And then, of course, if there are certain projects that I'll do gratis, because I think that, it's important to help build community, and I think it's important to be involved on that level. A lot of the time, a lot of the work that I put into the Plutus Awards is uncompensated in terms of money, because I think it's a great community building effort. And there are lots of other things that I do that I don't necessarily get paid for, because I think that it's the dividends are paid in social and community ways, rather than strictly money or, strictly a straight exchange.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you are so open for it, and I appreciate that, because the focus is on the guest. But as I do it as my show in a rational, selfish way, I have this segment in there because I want to have that. I talked to my friend today that like a subtitle or tagline is food for thought, that you should think and reflect a bit, and it's not only sound bites, and I think ideas are important and will have effect on your personal, private life and professional life. So I also do have done pro bono work, and sometimes I almost have to pay in order to work. But you should have understand your value, and it's a free exchange. And if you read her novels and works and so on, you will understand that they have that exchange. It's you could charge certain different rates and so on, depending on the situation and others. The important thing is that you are not somebody, slave, or that you should sacrifice something for a higher thing for a lesser one, and so on. That's the main thing with the trader principle, that you have a voluntarily exchange on a free market. So that doesn't have to be set in stone, that it should be the same amount, whatever. Because I have that myself, challenge that I thought was interesting about when you say about the rate and so on, that you don't have that on your page and so on. I don't have that either, but I say that I want to have where we talk about money, because that's the problem thing. Today's money that we are using, it are paper notes that are not backed up with any objective standard. So it's getting very complicated if it's like me are very interested in this philosophical way of thinking, that you are for, as I often call myself here with friends and so on, that I'm a poor capitalist. I'm for the system, but I'm not rich in that way, but I understand the value, and I support and I defend the capitalist and financial markets and so on. The problem is that you have lots of handouts, you have lots of corruption, you have lots of bureaucracy. It's all these kind of things that complicate the things. But that's so amazing when you read her works, that you have also characters like that get handouts from the state or special deals or whatever. But they are not really traders. They are using the system that is controlled by this mixed economy, so to speak. So I say that I want to get paid I have written a blog post in silver. But of course now in these days you have to take these paper notes anyway, but it's interesting to get, as you said, if you like them and you get a discussion, what's your time worth and what do you want to have out from this transaction. And then of course it could be that you do something free of charge or a special deal at the beginning or something like that. So it's nothing, it's no contradiction or opposite thing, that you are for this principle and at the same time could have different prices and so on. So, but I will include this reference to the trader principle, and if you have any material or something like that, you comment on there or send it to me as an email, because then I have a bit of follow-up. As a freelancer and a blogger, how do the so-called and now I will do it in how to say, quotation or air quotes, the real journalists and the people who have worked as on fancy newspapers or whatever. What do you have, because now you're writing for both online and papers and so on. Have you had that discussion and debates about this new market and how you could create content?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to watch kind of the evolution. I have a degree in journalism. My master's degree is in journalism from Syracuse University. So I have that background. I have that training. And so it's been interesting to watch kind of this migration of the intersection between journalism and content marketing online, because there's still this legitimacy attached to journalism right now. And so a lot of clients that I have right now really like my journalistic style that I do for them. A lot of the time, on my personal blog, it's a lot more like an op-ed, but for some of my other clients, it's more like news reporting. I interview sources, I quote them, I talk to experts, and I build stories around experts, and they're very newsy. They're very like a traditional news story, but they're being used to sell something, right? They're part of content. It's very interesting to see this new intersection between content marketing and journalism. A lot of people want to have the journalism style and the journalism tone because it lends them an air of credibility as they're trying to build up their websites. So it is interesting, and it's kind of an interesting debate as well, because on the one hand, there are days when I feel kind of snobby and I'm like, oh, well, you're not a real journalist. You're just a blogger. And I feel bad about that, because really, honestly, I think almost anybody has something worth hearing. Yeah. And so it's really very interesting. And I sometimes have mixed feelings about it. But at the same time, you're not going to make a living working for a newspaper for much longer. It's just it's just not feasible.
I think I must salute you that, and you have a rich background then, and you should, take advantage of that in a positive way, because you will see that people who are copywriters or journalists or have this background and understand and see the new kind of market and opportunities, they have a great advantage compared to joke a bit like me as a citizen journalist that don't have that background, but have learned by my own and reading and studying and been interested in reading regular magazines and newspapers and so on, but also taking impressions from bloggers.
Yeah.
And same thing with podcasting. I'm not a radio journalist or radio presenter, but people who have that background have a great advantage if they start, and that's why probably it's become so popular with this Serial, for example, and others, because that's the old wheel coming again. Back in the day, the radio was mystery stories and radio presenters, and people were flocking around the radio and tuned in that channel, and they got their story or mystery or whatever. But now you do that by your smartphone on the bus or whatever.
Yes.
And it get a big business. So that's fascinating to see this development. What have happened there?
Yeah.
So, but here in Sweden, the big newspapers, they are struggling now, and in America it had been proceeded even further there, but didn't the New York Times said that we know that one day will be the last newspaper that we will print. I personally think they will stick around for a long time, because people want to touch, feel, whatever. I personally is fond of a magazine called The Economist,
Oh, yes.
Because and I back and forth. Sometimes I subscribe for some couple of years and then I take a break or whatever. But I have started with it again, because you get a good summary in a week's time. But they now have started with podcasting and short news things that you could get in your smartphone and others. Still, at the same time, you have a journalist background, and they have the long reviews and long articles and archive from all back to the day. So it's interesting to see the development there. How is it in Pennsylvania with the mainstream media news there? Is it rich of different alternatives and a mix of news?
Yeah, well, I actually really enjoy listening. There's a public radio station here, WHYY, which is one of the most respected radio stations in the country as far as that goes. And I really enjoy listening to that. I have my radio tuned to it, and so when I'm in the car, that's what I listen to is WHYY. And I think in the Philadelphia Inquirer is still printing. I haven't actually been here for very long. I just moved here in August. So
may I ask where you're coming from?
Yeah, I moved from Utah. I'd been living in Utah for 9 years before I moved here. So I don't really have I'm still kind of, getting settled in and getting to know the area. So.
And that's fascinating how you could reach out and how you could connect with bloggers and journalists and writers and readers all over the USA and all over the world.
Oh, yes.
So that's and talking about that, now we have talked about financial, we have a little debate and so on. And a book tip, and where you mentioned M.G. DeMarco, Millionaire's Fast Lane. Could you tell us about that book?
Yeah, so The Millionaire Fast Lane by M.J. DeMarco he just pretty much takes a look at what you need to do if you want to be financially independent. So he kind of takes aim at, the traditional financial gurus, the Susie Ormans of the world. And, I don't really have anything against financial gurus. I think they offer advice that people can use depending on their stage of life and their stage in their finances. But he points out that many of them, the advice that they're giving is not advice that they themselves follow. No, because they're entrepreneurs, and they didn't make their money the slow and steady way, like working for 40 years and then retiring. They made their money because they're entrepreneurs. And so he talks about, entrepreneurship and how to kind of get out of this mindset of working for 20 or 30 or 40 years and then retiring and saving up all this money to retire. But then by the time you get to retirement, are you too broken down to enjoy it, right, physically? Because you've worked for 20 or 30 or 40 years and now you're old, right? Yeah. So it's just a great book that kind of helps you break out of that traditional financial mindset to where you kind of I don't know. I liked it better than the 4-hour work week. So
yeah, and now I said that we will send out a tweet to Tim Ferriss and see what he says about that.
No, I liked the 4-hour work week.
Me too,
I'm not saying anything against the 4-hour work week. I liked the 4-hour work week, but I liked the Millionaire Fast Lane better.
And that's good to know. I mean, that's what I like. Also, I was do a bit cheeky there and tongue in cheek and stick out because it's interesting how he's. What did you say?
I said, you're going to get me in so much trouble.
You think so? Yeah, we could edit it. No, we will not.
No, he doesn't even know who I am. It doesn't matter.
But I like that open conversation. And I think Timothy Ferriss will do that too, because he created a buzz. And I mean, it was very purposeful to do that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then it's interesting to get a great book tip that you could read alongside and compare and contrast. I think that's very good.
Yeah, and I think if you look at, because I like the idea that Tim Ferriss started of this lifestyle design. Yeah, that's something that I really enjoy. This idea that you can design your lifestyle. Yeah, and Millionaire Fastlane kind of helps that, is kind of complementary to that, where you can say, well, this is, what you can do to be financially independent, and, work on your own and figure that out and do that before you're too old to enjoy yourself. So, and I like that. And, my lifestyle isn't glamorous or fabulous or anything, but I get to set my own hours, and I get to choose who I work with, and I get to travel and meet interesting people. Just in the time that I've, been here in since August. So since the time I've moved to Pennsylvania, I've been to New Orleans, and I've been to Kansas City, and I've been to New York City a few times, and I've been out to visit my family in Idaho and Utah, and and I've been able to take my son to New York, and I've been able to take my son down to Philadelphia for a couple, and just see what's going on, and to visit some things. So I'm able to do what I want and enjoy my lifestyle like right now. And as a result, I don't feel like I'm going to need to retire in 20 years, because I like what I'm doing. So I can write, and I can still travel, and I can still spend time with my family, and it's nice. And I can do it on my schedule. I don't have to be working from 9 to 5 every day, and then have to do stuff in the evenings. I can do stuff in the middle of the day if I want. So it's nice.
Yeah, you could take time of your busy schedule to talk to me, for example, on a podcast. So that's great. So, and it's a great inspiration, Miranda. And you made my day now with that. Almost that you read my mind, because I was thinking of talking about lifestyle design or lifestyle management, or what you would call it. And I think it's a training that you are doing that I call myself. I'm a tea drinker and tea enthusiast. So we had a meeting place and a coffee place that we want to meet entrepreneur minds and business-minded individuals and entrepreneurs and so on, meeting in a nice settings. And so when I was, we had to get a espresso machine, it's an exclusive thing, and I learned to do good coffee and so on in espresso. And then I called myself barista in training.
That's
because
awesome.
It's a lifelong, if you want to do that in the Italian way, you could do that for a whole life, but to do it in your way. And I introduced the Americano to my customers there, espresso with a bit of water in it. So that was fascinating. So I mean, that could be that this lifestyle could take a long time, but if you plan it now, you could, as you said, harvest and reap reap
the benefits.
The benefits,
yeah, the benefits,
and get the fruits of your labor. So that's a great inspiration there, Miranda, and I will think more about it, chew it, and see what we could talk more about that at a later time. And then I will say then about Audible trial here. To download your free audiobook today, to get Audible trial at audibletrial.com/EGO NetCast. Again, that's it, audibletrial.com/EGO NetCast for your free audiobook. And then they could check out if MG DeMarco is on Audible, or otherwise you could go to Amazon, and I will include that then in the show notes. So thanks again for that book tip. It's great. So I look forward to listen to it and read it.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And what more? I was thinking here to see, because you have been a great guest, Miranda, and we have
Thank you.
Lots of conversation and discussions here and back and forth. Who would like to listen to? Do you have any tips or suggestion on other guests?
Oh my. Well, I always have to plug my partner, Tom Drake,
Tom Drake, yeah?
Yes, who owns Canadian Finance Blog and a bajillion other blogs.
Yeah.
Just because his business model is so different and interesting, where he basically looks for interesting bloggers or writers to partner with, and he helps them kind of monetize and improve their site, and then they just do what they want to do, which is write, which is why I'm working with him. So he's always interesting to talk to, because his business model is really different in the world of blogging. And so I really enjoy just the difference of his business model. And then, gosh, who else? There's so many people, and then you just have this like blank.
Yeah, that's okay. But Tom Drake, it's great tip, and if you could talk to him, and I will reach out to him also, and we could plan it, and I will be open there also. I mean, I have been podcasting since 2006. That was my first attempt.
Oh, nice.
But the challenge there is do it on a regular basis. So after this, I will talk probably with Elaine Smith.
Oh,
and
yes,
tomorrow
she's great.
I will talk to Eric Emanuel. But then is how I will, if I will put it in the scheduling there part. And maybe I will go a course with you or something like that, how to do your blogging schedule. Because it's lots of work of it, but it's labor of love, and I like it and enjoy it. But of course, my long range plan is to reap the benefits and fruits of your labor. I listened to an interview with that have been very successful and famous now in the podcasting in a short time. John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire. I can't say it the same as he does, but yeah.
Yes.
And it was fascinating how he did like 7 interviews back to back.
Yes.
And that's, but it came from that he had a need to listen to lots of podcasts when he did commuting. And he said that, nobody else is doing 7 days a week. So I will do it. And he didn't have any background in social media, whatever. But I mean, to do that every day and bring it out and so on, that's amazing.
Yes.
And that now, when I got now 3 great guests here like you, I was planning now to have it every second week and then do a solo show. So I will have something every week, because I think that could be a good thing. I know others, like my host of my files is Libsyn, and they have their show is every 2 weeks, and in a way that could be maybe the optimal thing, because then you have a 1 week to promote the marketing and reflect and so on, because even every week is could be pretty hectic.
Yes.
But now I'm thinking, after I'm doing this, and if we will get this with Elaine and then Eric, maybe I will put out all, and this will be on tape, so it will be recorded. Maybe I will put everything out as soon as possible anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm. So maybe that could we discuss at some other time also, how you get this kind of scheduling and flow, because that must be important for a freelancer.
Yes.
Not to do everything in the last minute, but to schedule it out a bit. But also to be flexible, to be able to do some on short notice or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes.
So very fascinating to see how you created your lifestyle. So what more when you're not then writing? You said you're enjoying reading, other things, traveling, and the outdoors. So are you hiking, or is it bicycle, or what do you do?
I like to go hiking, and I like camping. So my son and I go camping every summer, and we like to go hiking and just seeing what's out there. So yeah,
it's great. So anything else with the topics or other things? Now we will talk to Tom Drake then.
Yeah, and then also Steve Chu is also really interesting. He runs mywifequitherjob.com, and
I've seen blog post by him and read that. That's very interesting story there.
Yeah, he's really good. So.
Good. So, do you have any like a giveaway or some tips to the listeners, readers, fans of EGO NetCast?
Well, we can give away my book. So, yeah, why not?
That's great. So then we could talk about that, how we arrange that. If we do some promo code or some, if you have any. I talked to Daniel Swartz some months ago, and then he created like a short ebook and then gave out a special link to that. So that was pretty neat to do it. It's no must at all, but it's interesting to do this like special thing for the listeners.
I have the book in PDF ebook format.
Yeah.
So we can put together a special link that your listeners can go to.
That's great. So, and also if I want to continue the conversation, then they could go to facebook.com/EGO podcast or EGO NetCast. Of course, reach me on Twitter, EGO NetCast, and then of course listen to this interview on egonetcast.com. So, and that's what I think is fascinating with podcasting, that I mean, when we record it and upload it and so on, years from now people could listen to this and think about it, comment it, and spread the good word.
Yes.
So, and now you have to tell the listeners again, where could they find you, as you said, in the interwebs?
Yes. So my website is mirandamarquit.com, and that's where I write about freelancing. And then I also have plantingmoneyseeds.com, and that's my personal finance blog.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm on Twitter at @mmarquit. And
That's great. So, and then, of course, also we include your photo there in the blog post. This is also what developing how you do this preparation and what to do. I want to have it as a relaxed conversation. It should be a nice conversation. Nothing to have someone that you, what do you say?
Yeah.
That you put them on the spot or so on. It's not. I'm not Rush Limbaugh to joke. Even if he could be very inspiring in a way. But you want to have a chat and a conversation, but then also to have this preparation that it's pretty, you have a framework, but you have it should be pretty open at the same time. So I'm welcoming feedback and ideas and comments and what you could do, how to develop this podcast, because I'm here for it for the long run. So,
oh, nice.
So that's good to know. Any ending notes, Miranda? Anything? Any thoughts? Any shout out to somebody, or any ideas that you want to end with?
No. Just come to, if you're a financial blogger, come to the FinCon Expo in September and come to the Plutus Awards.
Yeah,
watch the Money Mastermind show on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern.
That's great. So we will include
shameless plug.
Yeah, that's what it should in a way be all about, because it's your time, you are the guest, and if you want to share it, we are happy to do that. So thanks again, Miranda, for your time.
You. And thanks for having me.
Talk to you soon again.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.